A Nascent Kaleidoscope. Chapter 146. The woman pushed herself up, getting on her feet rather quickly once she realized she wasn't alone. She was understandably disorientated for a moment. Gods know how long she had been sealed inside there. Her surprised expression quickly shifted, hidden behind a veil of confidence as she quickly took in the surroundings. I saw her eyes dart around the room, briefly looking at all of us and making sure she apparently had an escape route. We weren't surrounding her, but I could tell she felt the slightest bit cornered. There were things about her that caught my attention, her eyes for one, the obviousness of her fangs when she gasped for her first breath, and the paleness of her skin. A vampire. The other ones that were in here elicited no feelings of mercy. But I had no way of knowing if this one was with them. She was apparently sealed here for a very long time if the state of this place was any indication. "Who are you?" she asked, no one in particular but to us as a group. Well, words were better than her trying to attack us, I suppose. I wasn't going to kill every vampire I met. If they weren't the sort to treat other races as cattle, then live and let live. Where I'm from, it's polite to introduce yourself before asking others the same. I spoke up. Her gaze turned to me, calculative and searching for any kind of information she could glean from sight alone. "Serana," she replied. "My name is Serana." She was polite, if rather neutral in her tone. "Wilhelm. I would be courteous as well. These are my companions." I gestured to the others, and they seemed content to allow me to do the talking. "Rin, Artoria, and Thoram." I pointed out each one. Rin and Artoria both gave a curt nod in acknowledgement. I don't think they particularly cared for vampires, but if they weren't dangerous, they probably didn't care to kill them either. "Well met, Lady Serana." Thoram spoke with a smile. He has that same look you get. "What look?" "When you see a woman who catches your eye." "What? I don't have a look." "Shuri," Drake replied. Serana smiled in response. "Well met to you as well, Thoram." "Oh my God," Thoram was looking bashful. "May I ask how you came to be trapped in this place, Lady Serana?" Thoram asked. "Oh, please, call me Serana," she said with a surprising amount of warmth in her tone. "Serana, then." Thoram had that big goofy smile on his face. I looked at Artoria, mouthing some silent words to ask if I was seeing things incorrectly. Artoria seemingly shot some quick gestures and mouthed something back at me to confirm my suspicions. "Sweet Christ. Told you. That is a long story." Serana sighed. "Does it have anything to do with the Elder Scroll on your back?" I asked as her attention shifted back to me. It was a little important to have a conversation about. "Yes, it does, and it's mine." She narrowed her eyes. "Peace, Serana," Thoram interjected. "We merely wished to understand. There were several vampires we encountered on the way here, and they were not the friendliest sort." Serana pursed her lips, clearly in thought. "They were probably sent by my father." There was a small shift in the air, from silent acceptance of her presence to something resembling hostility. "So, you are familiar with them?" Artoria spoke for the first time. "In passing at most." Serana crossed her arms. "I am not on the best of terms with my father." She scoffed. "If it's all the same to you, I would rather not talk about it. I don't know how long I've been sealed here, and I would like to head home to get an idea of what's gone on in my absence." "You were hiding from him," I hazarded a guess. "Along with the Elder Scroll." A lot of his notes were starting to make sense now, from what Jin told me. She paused. "You are not a vampire, so it's unlikely you have any relationship with him," she muttered before shifting her focus back at me once again. "Yes, I was hiding it from him. Does that answer your question?" "How about a trade?" I offered. "A trade?" she repeated. "You want my Elder Scroll. What could you possibly offer to me?" "How about I take care of your father for you?" If my guess was correct, I knew exactly what was going on. She actually laughed at that. "Take care of my father? You. I don't want to be mean, but my father is an ancient vampire. He's ruled for longer than you can imagine." "Well, it doesn't seem like you're against the idea," I pointed out. She frowned. "If I could, I would have killed him myself already." Her expression shifted into a scowl. "So deal." I smiled innocently. "It doesn't seem like you have anything to lose. If you want to walk to your death, that isn't any of my concern." She didn't seem to pay it any mind. "This Elder Scroll would be useless to me if my father was dead anyways." Her tone made it out as if she didn't believe me, but that didn't matter. Wonderful. I took Harkin's sword out of my ring and tossed it onto the ground. Elder Scroll, please. She stopped, staring at the weapon I'd just produced, her expression turning into one of disbelief. What is that? Fought an old vampire the other day. Took his sword after I killed him. I said nonchalantly. How is that possible? She widened her eyes. You are a mortal, a man. You can always go take a look at his castle, or what's left of it. I shrugged. Besides, how do you think we found this place? I had someone go through his notes, and he talked about an Elder Scroll. My friend, you faced a vampire lord by yourself. Thorum looked surprised. Yeah, I was coming to Whiterun to see you and got attacked by some vampires. Apparently they were going to try and kidnap you in an attempt to lure me out, so it got a bit mad and went to confront their leader. I scratched my head. One thing led to another, and here we are. That explains the traces of battle the guards found not too long ago. We had been concerned because there was evidence of vampires there as well. Thorum responded. Oh, whoops! I completely forgot about that. I gave an awkward laugh. At least the Jarl will be relieved. Thorum shook his head with a small smile. You speak the truth, then? Serana knelt down, picking up the sword. My father is truly dead? My friend's word is trustworthy. Thorum spoke in my defense. Serana glanced at Thorum, then back at me before sighing again. She took the Elder Scroll off her back, holding it in her arms. My father would never allow a mortal to wield his sword, even if it was some convoluted scheme to trick me. If you killed him, then I can at least give this to you as thanks. She walked forward, pushing it into my arms. I hope you won't allow any vampires to come into possession of it. That was much easier than I thought it would be. Do you know what's inside? I asked. I dared not read it. Serana shook her head. All I know are my father's ramblings about how it tells of how we will no longer have to fear the sun. Now I'm just getting even more interested. You hid yourself here to escape your father. Now that he is dead, what will you do now? Thorum asked. I do not know. Serana said quietly. I haven't thought what to do after he was finally gone. I am still coming to terms with the fact that he was killed. You can come with me, Thorum said happily. I mean, if you wish to come to Whiterun, you can take a look to see how things have changed since you've been gone. He awkwardly stated. It's kind of adorable, the way he's acting. I don't know if he even realizes it himself. Whiterun! I don't believe I recognize the name. It wouldn't be bad to get an idea of the era now that I don't have to run and hide anymore. She didn't seem against the idea, and for some reason, she looked like she had a good impression of Thorum. Then again, he really gave off the feeling of being a genuinely good person. Maybe she could tell that as well? I will show you around. Thorum beamed. Are you sure it's a good idea to bring a vampire around common people? She raised an eyebrow. If you're found out, would there not be trouble for you? It's all right. Thorum laughed. You're a good person, I can tell. He easily waved off her concerns. Serana just blinked at his words, unsure of how to respond, but I don't think she disliked them either. If you insist. She looked away, but I think she was a little happy. No idea what she was feeling right now, but Thorum was pouring on his good guy charm, and it looked like it was working. Any kind of shortcut out of here? Rin finally spoke up. Would rather not go anywhere near where those giant spiders were again if we didn't have to. Giant spiders? Serana scowled. If anything changed in my absence, I wish those things had gone extinct. I guess hating those things is universal. But your guess is as good as mine. This place looks different from that last time I was here. She added, Mayhaps we keep going forward. It looks like there is something on the cliff over there. Artoria pointed towards the opposite direction we came from. I put Harkin's sword away and held onto the Elder Scroll under my arm. I didn't want to put it into my ring. I had no idea what would happen due to the nature of this absurd thing. Honestly, just holding it gave me a really odd feeling. I did notice as we started going that Serana took a spot near Thorum. There was an urge to slap him on the shoulder and give him a hard time, but I've never seen him act this way about a woman before, so I wasn't going to make it awkward for him. At least when she's nearby. When we're alone, I'm totally going to tease him about it. Wait! Serana stopped, grabbing everyone's attention. Those are gargoyles ahead. They will activate once we get close. Gargoyles! Thorum questioned. Stone animations that act based on a predetermined will, they usually are used to guard areas from intruders. Serana explained. I have never heard of such a thing. Thorum stroked his chin. They are expensive to make by normal means. They contain many rare materials and jewels. Mine! Rin pulled out her spear and burst forward with reinforcement covering her body. She pierced through one before it could even move. The others in the area started to come alive. Rin! Artoria sighed before going after the others. Wait! Serana called out to stop them, but stopped when she noticed them tearing apart the golems with relative ease. Or not. It was interesting to see Rin move into physical combat. It made sense, not to waste her magical energy or jewels, but it was still a little odd to see. She appeared to have some sense in her movements, still a bit amateurish, but had a feel of knowing what she was doing. No need to worry. Thorum hefted his own sword onto his shoulder. My companions are very strong. These things are no match for them. Yes, I can see that. Serana looked surprised at how easily they dealt with those things. Well, no reason to dally. I walked over as Rin began digging through the remains, pulling out some hidden gems. Hey, there's something strange up there. Drake spoke. To the side, up the stairs, I feel something calling out. I turned my head, not really able to see anything. Hey, Thorum, do you feel something strange? Strange. Thorum repeated. I suppose there is sort of a whisper I hear every so often. I was thinking it was nothing. Actually, I hear something odd as well. Artoria added. I don't hear anything. Rin looked confused. I as well hear nothing strange. Serana seemed just as unsure. Thorum started walking, Artoria behind him as we all followed. Walking up some nearby stairs, there was a strange stone formation with some words carved into it. Oh! Thorum exclaimed. The Greybeards told me of these. They are word walls. Masters of the Thursdayum could carve words and put their understanding into them to pass on to future generations. This is the second one I've seen yet. Thorum explained. Did you say the Thursdayum? Serana asked. You know the language of dragons? I know a little bit. Thorum smiled. I've heard that language is astonishingly difficult to learn. You are full of surprises, Thorum. Serana stated. Well, he is the Dragonborn. I helpfully added. Dragonborn. Serana was shocked. I guess the term was known to her as well. Ah, well. Thorum looked a little embarrassed. Don't worry, Thorum. I'll be your wingman. How interesting. Serana's lips curled up, giving him a strange look. I gave him a thumbs up when Serana wasn't looking, and I think he started blushing. What a strange feeling. It's like I can understand this, but I can't. Artoria placed her hand on the wall. I do not think this was meant for me, though. Yeah, we aren't quite the same as the dragons here. Thorum, how do you acquire the knowledge? Oh! He cleared his throat. I just have to place my hand on it, like so. He walked up, gently touching a certain word that seemed to brighten. A flow of light enveloped him as he closed his eyes. And like that I now know a new word. What shout did you learn? It roughly translates to Dre Magica. He muttered. Yes, that sounds about right. Fascinating. We'll have to test that later. To drain someone's magical energy, that could be useful. If you will train with it later, I am a little interested as well. Would you mind if I joined in? Artoria asked. Of course, Thorum said without hesitation. Thank you, Thorum. Artoria smiled. Funnily enough, Serana looked at Artoria with a frown. I walked up and wrapped my hands around her. We can all take a look later. I kissed Artoria on the cheek. Will, she muttered, still getting flustered from public displays of affection. God, get a room. Rin made a choking noise. Can we get going? This place isn't exactly fun to be in. I agree. I think I've stayed in this dreary place long enough. Serana agreed. Well, let's find the exit. I let go of Artoria. I do want to get back home soon. At worst, I can just open a portal outside, but I didn't want to reveal too much to this new girl before I got a better feel for her. Artoria didn't say anything, nor does she try to silently relay any message my way, and her instinct is usually on point. Not to mention Thorum seemed to have a good impression of her. Who am I kidding? Guy is completely crushing on her. I'll be open-minded for now. The vampires here weren't my favorite people so far, but Serana didn't set off any alarms. I just hope Meridia doesn't get upset. Chapter 147. Hey Schweinorg! Rin leisurely had her hands behind her head as we walked down a cobblestone road. How exactly does the Thursdayum work? I read some books on it at the college, but they never really explained anything. Tolfter originally told me something like, "A dragon speaks and the world listens." I replied, "Tolfter, that old mage at the college." "Yeah, did you meet him?" "I haven't seen him in a while, not since he was hurt." "I really do need to make time and check up on everyone." "Yup, he was nice, helped me and Saber get settled." Rin smiled. "Indeed, Tolfter was very kind to us and was very open with any questions we had." Artoria nodded at Rin's words. Even with how busy everyone has been, he was always willing to help. That sounds exactly like him. I ran a hand through my hair, looking up at the sky. To further answer your question, the Thursdayum bends the world according to the words spoken. In fact, you can equate them to Castor's high-speed divine words if that helps. I glanced over to Thorum and Serana, who were walking right next to us. They seemed to be listening, but otherwise didn't engage. I wasn't particularly hesitant to talk about vague things like this without giving any details away. So, it's not like magic where you force your own will upon the world, but the shout forces the world to perform certain actions. Rin muttered, "Honestly, sounds a lot like a marble phantasm." It's a bit different. I took a moment to think my words through. A marble phantasm can only force natural phenomena to occur regardless of the likelihood. The Thursdayum bends the world, as I said, forcing outcomes that otherwise could not be possible. For instance, Alduin is apparently turning back time and reviving dragons, something that is not a natural occurrence in the greater world. I get it, just kind of hard to wrap my mind around. Rin sighed. How hard is it to learn? I'm cheating and even still having trouble. I said honestly, Thorum over there is basically fluent. I jabbed my thumb over to my friend. My friend, jealousy is not a good look on you. He gave a cheeky smile, earning a snicker from Rin. I just face-palmed. Shouldn't have told that story. Basically, throwing my cheeky words I said to Rin right back at me. Rin broke out in a laughing fit. Thorum, you're the best. She threw him a thumbs up. Artoria, I'm being bullied. I complained. There. She pat my shoulder. Rin, please spare him. He is very sensitive. I can feel my fragile ego just shattering every time someone opens their mouth. I deadpanned. Going back on topic, I found the best way to learn the Thursdayum was through experiencing it. Don't know if that would work for you due to my unique circumstances, but if you wanted to give it a try. I trailed off. You know what? Hit me with something. Let's see what happens. Rin opened her arms up. Rin, that is not a wise idea. Thorum stepped in. Most shouts I've learned, and thus helped Wilhelm to learn, are dangerous to use on others. I got an idea. I interjected, walking to the side and finding a good-sized stick. Here, hold this like a weapon. I handed it to Rin, who seemed confused. Oh, that is a good idea. Thorum praised. All right, Rin, you ready? Hit me, Schweinorg. She held the stick up like a sword. I took a deep breath. Zunhail Vike, I shouted. The stick in her heart was dislodged, landing on the ground. Okay, that was creepy. Rin clenched her hand a few times. Like, I was holding it then some force decided I wasn't. Yup. The world declared that you were no longer holding it, so reality bent to make it happen. I explained. That's so broken, I want it. Well, it's possible to learn. Who knows? You might have talent in it. I shrugged. Will, I am glad to see you progressing with your Thursdayum, but you used it incorrectly. Thorum spoke up. Did I? It worked, didn't it? I questioned him. Yes, well. He rubbed his chin. I apologize. I am not skilled at putting this kind of stuff into words. It's fine. I reassured him. Just speak your mind. It was like you were trying to scoop water out of a well with your hands instead of a bucket. Oh? Are you saying I was inefficient in my application? Yes. He nodded at my interpretation. I'm curious now. How about you show me the right way to do it, big guy? Rin asked. If you wish. Thorum nodded happily. Rin picked her stick up again. Serana was content to keep quiet, looking on curiously, and even Artoria was quite keen to see this in action. Zunhail 7K, Thorum shouted, and I felt the difference immediately. The stick in Rin's hand didn't just drop to the ground, It went flying off into the distance and even made her stutter back slightly. "Holy shit," she said absent-mindedly. "Yeah, it goes to show how better Thorum is at this branch of magic than I am." I admitted. Thorum was truly skilled at the Thursdayum. I don't think I could ever match him. "Don't sell yourself short." Thorum slapped my shoulder. "My friend, you have only been learning a short time, and do not have the same benefits that I do." "He's right, you know." Sarana spoke up for the first time in a while. "It doesn't seem like you've been learning it for long, yet all the people I've heard about using the Thursdayum in the past were old men. Yet, here you are using it fully, if not as well as a dragon in the body of a man." I turned to look at Sarana. She was hard to get a good read on. I honestly had no idea what she was thinking. Her world seemed to turn upside down. She quickly started flirting with Thorum, if it could be called that, possibly because he was the easiest target. Maybe it was just a defense reaction on her part. Surrounded by strong people right as she was unsealed, she took an opening that was given to her. No part of me expected her to return any kind of affection that Thorum seemed to relay, but I also wasn't particularly enthused by the idea of her just leading him on because she felt threatened. Was it possible she wasn't playing it up and perhaps had some kind of good impression of him? Maybe he was simply her type and struck all the right chords for her. Adding in the fact that her father is dead, something she apparently wanted for a while, it could have just all fallen into place. Regardless, I didn't really think it my place to shove my nose into. If it got bad, then I would obviously do my job as Thorum's friend, but his relationships, or attempted, were his business, and I would try my best to support him. "I appreciate the kind words." I gave her a small smile. "I know I'm just complaining when I have it better than a lot of other people." I waved it off. "But you should see this guy in action. It's like I'm a toddler in comparison." I wrapped my arm around his shoulder. Trading shouts with a genuine dragon like it was nothing. It makes you wonder who had been doing it longer between them. "You have mentioned dragons returning in force. Have you fought many dragons?" Sarana looked at Thorum. Our first bout was the hardest. I had yet known I was a dragonborn. If it were not for my friend, I fear I would have lost my life." "Oh, none of that." I hit his shoulder. "You're the one who cut off its head in the end." I laughed. I knew he was going to argue, so I kept going. This big guy had killed half a dozen dragons already, and look at him, not a single scratch to show for it. Well, she certainly did look. Maybe she was just thirsty. Is more ways than one. Who knows? I'm not good at this stuff. I'd rather just be extremely blunt about it and forego any ambiguity. Regardless, I got your back. Rin and Artoria looked amused by the whole thing. I didn't know their opinions on Sarana either. We've barely known her for a couple hours at this point, but it was progress, I suppose. Well, Thorum started going into stories of his battles at Sarana's insistence, and I stepped back to allow them their moment. We had a long walk back since I didn't want to show off my portals. I would see what happens later. Finally, my feet are killing me. Rin whined as Whiterun finally came into focus, the stables just up the road from us. Yeah, it felt like we had been walking forever at this point, almost an entire day if I were to guess, and we were moving very briskly. It's always a good feeling to arrive home after an adventure. Thorum happily added, "A cold cup of mead would do me well." "I swear, you all drink that stuff more than water." "Haha, you'll have no arguments from me." Thorum laughed. "What are your plans, Sarana?" I asked the vampire. I was curious what she had decided to do after having time to think about it without a perceived threat hanging over her head. Thorum offered to show me around. She glanced at him. "I am in no rush. For the first time in a very long time, I don't feel I have to do anything, so I'll catch up on the time I missed, see what's changed." "Well, a little advice if you're going to be staying long. I guess I would keep an open mind here. I would introduce yourself to the Jarl. Don't try to hide that you're a vampire. That's just going to end badly for everyone. He might even be appreciative if you share some knowledge about dragons or other things from your experience." She gave me a contemplative look. "I will take your words under consideration." I shrugged. "Thorum." I clasped his shoulders. "As always, it's great hanging out with you." Thorum looked at me for a moment, then wrapped me up in a big hug. "My friend, our time spent is never boring. I wait until you call on me again." That big goofy smile of his, it was hard to not smile along with it. "I can see why Schweinorg likes you so much." Rin seemed to genuinely like him, which was good. I'll be up at the college most of the time if you need anything, and I'll see about coming here to visit sometimes. I look forward to it. If I have any questions regarding magic, I know who to ask. And he knew the right buttons to push, if accidentally, to get people to like him even more. Rin showing even more pride like that, to be considered someone to seek help from. I may see you out as well, Thorum. These shouts are something that have caught my interest. Artoria spoke up. I have similar advantages that Wilhelm has. I wonder if I can have some sort of success in it. I would be honored to share what I know, Artoria. Thorum smiled brightly. We said our goodbyes as Thorum and Serana walked through the gate, greeted by the enthusiastic guards. Us three began walking away, getting a good distance before I opened a portal and deposited us into the house. Thank God! Rin collapsed onto the couch. I was going to die if I had to walk any more, and that's even with this amulet. Can I hear your thoughts on Serana? I asked, setting the Elder Scroll down from my back onto the table. Worried about your friend? Rin chuckled. Yeah, I can't help it. I scratched my cheek. She came off as kind of fake, but she could have just been nervous. Rin shrugged. Thorum was crushing hard, though. Indeed, I had thought he might follow in your footsteps with Meridia. Artoria joked. I would kill to see that. Rin threw her head back onto the couch. Ugh, I need a warm shower. Probably going to bed after. I'll see you both in the morning. Rin slugged herself up the stairs and disappeared. Well then. I just shook my head. I couldn't exactly blame her. I felt similar. You tired as well? I would not mind resting. Artoria gave a small smile. Even more so if you were to join me. Oh my, Artoria Pendragon, are you trying to tempt me into your bed? Her face became a little red. She turned around, starting to walk up the stairs until she briefly stopped hand on her dress as she started balling it up. Inch by inch, her dress moved up as much of her underclothing was dematerialized, her metal greaves only further emphasizing her beautiful legs, until she finally pulled the hem up over her rear, revealing a cute pair of pink panties stretched around her round cheeks. Jin advised me on matters. Do you wish to accompany to bed? Was this her attempt at seducing me? Did she want some more loo time? I have to admit, her being in her combat attire was definitely doing it for me, even if it wasn't already. I had wanted to get a start on my lightning form, but I suddenly felt like I could put that off until tomorrow. Tempting a devil like that, you sure are bold. I quickly chased after, following her into the bedroom. Chapter 148. I hummed my head resting against Artoria's. We were still snuggled up on the bed, even as the sun started peeking through the window. She mimicked me, giving a small smile. I kissed her cheek. She kissed mine. We shared a little laugh, snuggling a little closer. I don't think either of us had the intention to continue sleeping any longer, but it was nice to enjoy the moment. Should probably get up soon. I yawned, closing my eyes for another few moments. Do you have important things you must get done today? I felt her hand run through my hair, sending a small shiver down my spine. Going to perform a large ritual. I admitted. Should make me a bit stronger. Is it dangerous? There was a small amount of worry in her voice. A bit, but I am taking many precautions, and I'm going to see about having the Archmage watching over me. You're not allowed to get hurt. She grumbled. I will be upset with you if something unfortunate occurs. I let out another yawn, fully opening my eyes again. I'll make sure to be whole and healthy when all is said and done. Her eyes shot open, then narrowed slightly. Will, how dangerous is this ritual of yours? It's only mildly dangerous. As I said, I will be making many preparations. And it will not harm you? Not permanently. She frowned. It will be painful then? A bit, yes. I feel as if you are downplaying it for my benefit. I let out a sigh. The biggest detriment to this ritual is the fact that it will be extremely painful, normally. I have aura, which will mitigate quite a bit, and other stuff, but even then it's going to hurt. I do not like the idea of you harming yourself. She said quietly, gripping onto my shirt. Is this ritual that important? It will be helpful, and I need everything I can get before I head out. You never mentioned where you were going. If it is going to be so dangerous, then I shall accompany you. She stated. I guess this was coming at some point. I'm going to participate in a Holy Grail war. I wouldn't lie to her. You. Artoria had many expressions flash across her face. No. Absolutely not. Artoria. No. She said sternly. I have to. What is so important that you require? Scat-hack. I said simply. Her hands gripped me tight. It was clear she was holding in some choice words, and it made my heart hurt knowing it upset her. You must miss her a lot. I do. I sighed again. I keep trying to distract myself, but I can't stop missing her. I see. Artoria let go, turning around and sitting herself up on the edge of the bed. I ran my hands down my face, sitting up next to her. I would do the same for any of you. I reached out, pulling her close. She allowed it, accepting my touch. Don't think for a second that I wouldn't force myself into Avalon to get you if anything happened. Her lips twitched slightly, like she wanted to be happy at my words, but held herself back. I can understand why you must go, but I will not be happy about it. And I will be speaking to Meridia and Jin about what you will be doing. Of course. I nodded. And you will return to me, she said flatly. The Grail, those Grail wars. I have fought in 2 now, Wilhelm. Both of them had left me hollow by the end, and they had taken things from me that left an everlasting mark. I will not allow it to happen a 3rd time. She turned to me, her face stoic. Are we clear? Yes, ma'am. Good. She nodded, pulling me into a deep kiss. I didn't take point, letting her lead and express some stuff she probably had a hard time putting into words. Mayhaps Scat-Hack will be able to rein you in from doing idiotic things like this in the future. She broke the kiss in a huff. It's going to be dangerous, but I don't expect to die. If anything, I consider myself unrivaled in running away. I gave a cheeky smile. Stop that. She let out another cute huff, holding back a smile. I am upset with you, do not make me laugh. In seriousness, I'm making a lot of preparations, and I will be summoning a servant to assist me. I explained. I will accept your words for now, but this conversation is not finished. Artoria relented. Go, complete your ritual. I am less upset at you hurting yourself now. I'll come back once it's finished. I placed a quick kiss on her lips before getting up and grabbing my stuff. It shouldn't take more than a day. Good, I will be coming by the college with Rin, no doubt. So I will be checking in at some point, and I will relay a message to have both Jin and Meridia also check up on you. Artoria left no room for argument. She seemed a tad more worried now that I explained my plans to her. Well, I couldn't really fault her either. If her, or one of my other girls was going to do something dangerous, I would worry nonstop. Not to mention I'm touching on a very sore spot for her, knowing how the 4th Grail War went, and the 5th was probably not much better. I still have a bit of time. I'll make sure I have many things prepared before setting out. I quickly popped over to the college, the door still operating quite easily. I went straight from my little training room, and it appeared to have not been touched. Not that anyone could do anything with it since I hid the mechanisms to it within my own spell castings. Walking inside, I started to erase the spell sequences already around. I had them memorized at this point, so setting them back up would be relatively easy. I took out the book on lightning form, opening it to the page I needed. I had already theorized a modified version of the spell, one crafted for my unique biology as opposed to the Imperial who created the spell in the first place. Not to mention I was filling in some gaps or correcting some errors I found along the way. The person who created the spell wasn't exactly the most prestigious of mages, even if the spell itself was rather ingenious. But then again, new ideas and innovations don't always come from the top, often coming from the average or the lower end of the spectrum. Taking out some talismans, I set to create a 5 elements mutual generation up on the ceiling without invoking it. To utilize the natural cycle to bolster the spell further, since I was beyond most people, I needed it to be stronger. I began to draw more runes onto the walls, mostly to reinforce the concept of lightning within the room. There were also safety measures installed. If I lost consciousness, the runes would self-destruct, essentially canceling the spell sequence. Taking off my shirt, I tossed it inside my ring along with my vest and tie. I took out a small blade and cut my palm, letting my blood spill into a bowl to collect a small amount. Dipping my finger in it, I started to draw a primordial rune onto my chest. the primordial rune representing nature, as lightning is a facet of the natural world. I was doing this to facilitate the spell with the blessing I had of Odin, to lean more onto the Norse cosmology. It should give the spell a little more oomph when all was said and done. The conceptual weight added of an entire cosmology as a foundation would bring my lightning form to a whole new level. Well, I keep calling it a spell, but that wasn't quite right. Technically, it was a spell, but it wasn't something to continuously cast on yourself. The spell was going to force the concept of lightning and merge it with my body, my person. To put it in blatant terms, I would add the element of lightning next to my current element. Archmage, please keep an eye on me. Make sure no one interferes. I called out, not very loud, but I had no doubt the man heard me. He always knew what was going on in his college. I began the final preparations. A spell circle drawn out as described and shown in the book, along with some runic letters native to this world. The circle was rather large, all things considered, but it was surprisingly efficient. Putting away all the stuff I didn't need, I sat down cross-legged at the center and steadied my breathing. In and out. I followed a rhythmic breathing exercise to calm myself down and to mentally preparing myself as my aura flared up, making sure it was also steady. Ready, Drake? Yeah, I'll keep a look inside on what's happening. My circuits could be seen, glowing along my upper chest and down my arms. Their warmth was something I had become used to, but it was a sort of comforting feeling all the same. I started to channel my magical energy and pushing it down into the spell circle, actualizing everything. The spell circle lit up, and slowly the room's atmosphere began to shift. Lightning began to spontaneously arc throughout the stone chamber, bouncing off the walls. It grew, becoming more and more numerous. The arcs of lightning filled nearly every corner until they coalesced and I braced myself. They all shot right down onto me. Ah! I let out a pained shout, the surprise of it amplifying the feelings and the lightning drilled into my core being into my soul. I clenched my fists tight and grit my teeth to reel back the outburst. Rara! I grit out, my fingers digging into my arms. I felt it, the lightning discharging all around inside of me. There were remnants, pieces that didn't go straight down into my soul that were content to tear apart the insides of my body. My aura flared up, its healing properties offsetting the damage. Even as parts of my skin were burned and torn apart at the rampaging element, my aura started to dampen and heal the damage. I growled, mentally swiping my ring and taking out a potion of regeneration. More potent than a normal healing potion, but not as immediate. I chugged it, letting the alchemic liquid fill my stomach and contribute to the healing. The runes around the room glowed. As to command the element and force it to where it was supposed to go, they synchronized with the primordial rune on my chest. The lightning that bounced around my body was pulled towards the center and forcibly stuffed into my soul. I coughed out blood even as the lightning left my physical body. The brief amount of time I had it inside of me was enough to damage my internals. There was no time to consider it, though. Just because my physical body was no longer being bombarded, it didn't mean the pain subsided. The body is a reflection of the soul, and currently, there was chaos within my soul. I couldn't help but start rolling on the ground, clawing at the stone flooring, the excruciating pain unrelenting. Hold it, brat. It's almost over. Drake's words echoed in my ear, but they barely registered. I smashed my head against the ground in an attempt to keep myself conscious under this relentless assault. The stone beneath me having cracked and indented after who knows how many times. Brat, you need to focus. Compress it. I grit my teeth again, lifting my head up, even as my body was violently shaking. I tried to stand up, but collapsed back onto my ass, and decided it was good enough. I focused on the lightning, and began the process of forcing it down. I took several haggard breaths. As the pain started to subside, the tingling in my body was settling, and the lightning wasn't rampaging anymore. Slowly, I released the lightning, letting it seep out as I absorbed it properly. The spell circle around me glowed bright, the intertwined concepts allowing me to fully take in the element, shifting my core self, and adding the concept and making it mine. My breathing started evening out as the elemental power ran its course. Slowly, but surely over the course of almost an hour, I subsumed the remainder. Opening my eyes again, I held out my hand, and lightning danced across my palm. Fucking hell! I let out a breath, falling down onto my back. That was intense. Yeah, hurt like a bitch too. I groaned, looking at my arms where there were still parts of my skin that had burst open. Maybe you should have done without the 5 elements mutual generation. I don't know if the spell would stick with everything inside of me. Besides, I only had one chance at this. I wanted to make it as strong as possible. I sighed. I didn't expect it to be that painful, if I were honest. The first burst of it actually made me scream. With this element added on, there should be some interesting changes. Yeah, basically anything affected by my soul should see something. I paused. What? I never considered my power of destruction. I quickly took out the sword of destruction, channeling my aura to it to ignite my bloodline power. My power of destruction, it usually acted almost like fire, to flare out and consume everything in its path, but now it crackled. A mutation. Possibly. More testing is definitely needed. I looked at my power with a wide grin on my face. But I could really get used to this. I was captivated by how it arced and crackled along the blade. Chapter 149. I let out a deep breath, electricity arcing across my arms. I had several cuts, but they were healing at an obscene speed, even considering my aura. There was also a faint sound of crackling coming from them, my new additions having the unforeseen side effect of boosting my healing capabilities. I don't think the creator of the spell did it justice, or perhaps I brought it to the next level with my additions. It didn't simply add lightning to me, it more or less made the element part of my DNA, to put it in simple terms. Again, Artoria commanded. I looked up to see her squaring off against me. There were a few instances of her armor being scuffed, her clothes looking a little disorganized. The telling signs of our sparring for the past few hours, that had been the lesser part of several days at this point. Mirage in my hand, my feet dug down into the ground and I pushed off, the crackling of lightning left in my wake as a new speed, dwarfing my previous selves, took over and I met her blade to blade. Every swing of my sword, it felt like a clap of thunder bearing down on her own. I wasn't even trying to bring out my elemental nature, and yet there was a clear indication of my new alignment. You are letting it go out of control, she stated, unperturbed by the arcing bolts that jutted out randomly. I grit my teeth, reeling in the new, but still strange, sensation that enveloped my body. My fingers twitched slightly, gripping my sword, the snapping of lightning through the air slowly fading. Artoria swung her sword, a blur of speed as I moved to blow. I met it head up, my own sword deflecting it to the side as I followed up. The trading of attacks as neither of us gave each other an inch, gradually becoming quicker and quicker. Good, Artoria stated, knocking my sword away one final time before dropping her guard. I believe you have a good handle on this new ability now. My arms dropped to my side. Yeah, I got used to how it felt under stress and fatigue. I put away Mirage into my ring, moving to stretch my arms a little. Feels a little odd still. It is impressive how much you improved these past few days, she noted. Might be because of your nature. A dragon reacts to desires, so that could be a facet. But then again, devils operate similarly on a smaller scale. And humans are a race with the most potential. I can also heavily lean on my past life's memories. That was no doubt giving me a huge leg up. I mean, how long had it been since I left that house? A bit over 2 years, and I'm already at this point? Hell, the last time I actually went all out and fought like my life was on the line was Scat Hack. Even with Harkon, I could have ended it earlier, but I didn't pull out some of my bigger stuff. Of course, I didn't feel majorly threatened at any point until Molite Ball showed up, and then I was just on guard and didn't want to tip my hand. I shook my head. Well, I had amazing help. I gave her a smile. I suppose you did. She smiled happily. Up for a break? I asked, though the way her weapon hung at the side pretty much gave away her thoughts. Yes, please, Artoria replied, casting her gaze over towards our 2 onlookers. I admit I am a mite famished. You're always hungry, I deadpanned. I am not. She puffed up. I merely required a certain amount of sustenance to fill my stomach. She looked away. I looked at her dryly. I need to take you on another date to the States. I want to see you have a go at an all-you-can-eat buffet. She paused her steps. Does such a place exist? She practically had stars in her eyes. So cute. Well, if there's something Americans do right, it's food. I would admit I'm a bit of a glutton myself. Come on. I gently pulled on her free hand. I think the others have been waiting for us. We began walking towards a little table set up behind the house. We had essentially been using the backyard as a sparring area. And by backyard, I meant the tundra of Skyrim that was wide open and for free use. Hey girls! I greeted both Meridia and Jin chatting at a table under a tree in the shade. Wilhelm. Meridia gave a smile, looking rather happy. Jin was catching me up on what I had missed. I have been told you acquired an Elder Scroll. Yup, didn't want to do anything with it yet. Thought maybe you would have an idea. It was apparently very dangerous to use, and while I did act recklessly sometimes, that was more in a calculated manner. You used common sense for once. She drawled. I am honestly surprised. Well, if I used common sense more often, would I have such a wonderful woman be my lover? I shot back with a grin. I am annoyed that this is a valid argument. She huffed, turning towards Artoria. How was my sword? Oh. Artoria perked up, holding the sword in front of her. It was my Dawnbreaker. It served wonderfully. I admit the quality of this weapon leaves me a bit jealous. I would have been delighted to wield such a fine blade at any point in my life and trust myself to it. She gave it a few light swings. The balance is perfect, and the weight is very well distributed. While it is a bit wider than what I am used to, I can find no faults in it. She gave her honest words. We had been sparring for the better part of about 4 days now, and she had gone through several other swords in our bouts. For obvious reasons, she didn't want to use Excalibur or Caliban, but using invisible air defeated some of the purpose of his training. Meridia looked pleased at the honest reply. You are one of the few I allow to touch my sword, Meridia said simply. It was a way I think Meridia was using to acknowledge Artoria. What about me? Can I touch your sword? Jin giggled. Of course, she said plainly as if it were obvious. Ah. Jin bent over giving Meridia a hug. It was still amusing, watching Meridia get affection and awkwardly return it. She was somewhat used to me, but having another person ignore her status and just do something like this, it was still odd to her. Not that she disliked it. I could tell she was enjoying the attention. I admit, I've been tempted to look at my new Elder Scroll. Jin stated, sitting back in her seat. I noticed you said, my new Elder Scroll. I pointed out. I did in fact say that. She said shamelessly. Just checking. I chuckled. Jin held out her hands, and the Elder Scroll seemed to pop into them. Can you read this for me, Meridia? I can. Meridia acknowledged. I am not bound by the same rules, though I suspect the divines will be upset. They do so like to control where these little toys land in situations like this. So they can control them. Interesting. I rubbed my chin, turning towards Jin. You already took over my wards and defenses. She pulled it from the library where it was last kept. I can only assume she was piggybacking on my established bounded fields and other magical defenses wrapped around this place. I have an entire world's worth of magical knowledge in my head. Do you think I couldn't? She looked amused at my surprise. Fair. I accepted. I admit, I forget how much you actually know sometimes. Magical, divine, all-knowing, spirit. She pointed to herself. And if you only use me for... All right. I held my hands up in defeat. I will respect your magical prowess from now on. I'm also interested. Artoria chimed in. Are these Elder Scrolls used directly by these gods as a means to interact with the world? Sometimes. Meridia casually shrugged. Most of the time, I believe they just bounce around time and space, randomly appearing. But the prophecies dictated within tend to draw the corresponding scroll to it. There are times when the divines give it a little push, or outright deposit them at certain locations. Did I ruin a prophecy? That could be potentially bad. Not all prophecies dictate the completion of their contents. Some simply reveal what will happen if something is done, not that it is going to happen. Meridia explained. But it is entirely possible. I believe the term you used before was outside context problem. Oh, hope I didn't break anything. It is unlikely you caused any significant harm. But if you'd like, I can take a look. She glanced down at the scroll in Jin's hands. My curiosity is getting the better of me, but I believe we should wait for Rin. She did come with us on that adventure. She's just as much a part of this. I pursed my lips. I was really curious what was inside it, but I did care about Rin's feelings on the matter. Speaking of, where is she? Meridia had requested a kaleidophone to be created for her and offered substantial payment. Rin had commandeered an empty room for her workshop to craft one. Artoria replied, "And I am thankful you are thinking of Rin. Of course, she's basically my sister at this point." I smiled. "Oh, that means I can call her my sister too." Jin perked up. Artoria blinked in surprise. "Actually, I believe she would quite like that. I don't wish to reveal personal matters, but I do know she has felt the loss of her family much in the past. I will make a better attempt at socializing," Meridia said quietly, which did make me do a double take. "Must be weird seeing mortals as something other than just mortals." "Yes, but it is not a bad feeling," Meridia replied with what seemed to be an honest sentiment. "I can appreciate the sentiment as well." Artoria chimed in. "A different circumstance it may have been, but I enjoy not having to sit above those I am close to like I was in the past as a king. I'm just happy I have friends and family now." Jin smiled brightly. That made us all silent. I couldn't help but walk over and wrap my arms around her. "You are precious to me, and I am infinitely glad you are here with us." "Well, you're making me blush." She giggled. "He speaks the truth. We have not known each other for long, but I am happy you are here, Jin." Artoria smiled gently. "Indeed, I have not had a girlfriend, as you have put it, to chat with before. I enjoy the time we spend together." Meridia also gave her feelings. "You both are so sweet." Jin continued to beam happily. "But we didn't gather to talk about me." She looked towards me. "You are correct." Artoria agreed. "Yes, our mutual target of affection is going to do something foolish again," Meridia said dryly, and the atmosphere was quick to change. "I guess we're having this conversation now." I sighed. "All right, hit me with it. I will not try to dissuade you." Meridia was the first to speak. "I am aware of how much you care for this scat hack." She paused for a moment. "I wish to make sure you are fully prepared for such an endeavor." Artoria explained to me, briefly, the kind of foes you will face. I admit, many things she spoke of were foreign, but I could understand that you would be fighting foes that could even possess godhood or other ridiculous concepts comparably. Well, that isn't completely accurate. I fought Heracles, Wilhelm. I fought Siu Chulin, Medea Medusa. Artoria started listing off various heroic spirits. Gilgamesh, she said pointedly. "Need I go on?" "Okay, that's fair." I acquiesced. Divinity is a very strong source of power, but I don't lack my own means. Drake is strong. Jin also spoke up. I had a conversation at length about him and his capabilities before when we were briefly roommates. But you're going to be fighting people on the same level of Artoria, possibly stronger. She glanced at the mentioned knight. "I don't claim to be the strongest. It is entirely possible, if not probable." Artoria nodded. Jin accepted that and continued. "These noble phantasms scare me. The closest I could compare are the relics, but I can't even bring myself to compare the sword of destruction to Excalibur. I'll also be summoning my own servant." I added, "Should we preemptively add a new spot in our group?" Meridia deadpanned. "It would save time." Artoria stated, "Oh, a new sister, I can't wait." Jin let out another small laugh. "Why do you all think I'm going to get another woman so easily?" I threw my hands up. "I'm not that bad." "Salem." Jin deadpanned. "That was—" "We are aware," Artoria said bluntly but not upset. Well then, this became another level of awkward, and it wasn't like I did anything beyond flirting. "As if we were not aware of your proclivities already, my lover." Meridia rolled her eyes. "Not to mention Yasaka that I have been informed of. To be fair, Yasaka and I aren't in a relationship. It's adorable that you think that will last long." Jin pat my shoulder. "The moment Kunu decided you were her daddy, your fate was decided. You all aren't upset." When pointed out like this, it was a bit odd, I guess. "Upset? I do not believe that is the correct phrase." Artoria replied. "Mildly exasperated would perhaps be closer. I was aware of what I was getting into when I agreed to this relationship, and you were nothing but open about it. I so far have no regrets, even if I wish to smack you upside the head on a few occasions." She expressed my sentiments well. Meridia crossed her arms. "I have no problems." Jin said plainly. But I think we're moving off topic. Yes, the Holy Grail War you wish to participate in. Artoria redirected the conversation. Do you have any idea which servant you are going to summon? I don't know. I was going to leave it up to chance, and allow the Grail to pick one with compatibility with me. I was honest with my intentions. I can see the logic in your decision. A partner that you get along with is important if you are going to be fighting together. Artoria nodded. What about supplies, strategy? Do you have any idea what you're getting into? Meridia asked with a bit of concern in her tone. I have things I've been preparing, but I'll also make some more preparations beforehand. I haven't read the notes the old man had ready for me yet. I'll do that before heading over, though. Preparations? Like what? Do you need any help? Jin chimed in. Potions, talismans, equipment, that sort of thing. I replied. I can do some stuff with dust if you want. Bombs are the most simplest thing, but I can make other things with my knowledge. Jin stated. If I have good materials, I can weave some into some sort of armor. That isn't a bad idea. I had forgotten about dust for the moment, but I could see the uses for it. Once the old man said he was going to do some studies, I kind of left it up to him for now. And I can help you with your talismans. She added, Are you sure you? Spirit of knowledge. She deadpanned. Do you think I haven't read up on your preferred crafts? I sighed, the corners of my lips curling up. You're too good for me. Yup, she said without hesitation. I will see if I can find anything to aid you as well. Meridia spoke up. I may have something, but I will have to retrieve it. Don't push yourself. Nonsense. She huffed. You are my man. I will not have you lose to some common rabble. Never have I heard heroic spirits be referred to as common rabble. I chuckled. I will help you train until you depart. Artoria also looked eager to participate. Your new abilities could use some refinement, and I will make sure you are on top shape for your battles. Oh. Jin perked up. I forgot to ask about that. I read the book on that spell, lighting form. How is it? The Archmage and I had a discussion on it, but he was busy and couldn't get away to see it himself. Well, it's really interesting. It was supposed to merely imbue me with a new element, but I think my modifications took it a step further and forced the concept through my entire person. I held my hand out, and a small bit of electricity crackled across my fingers. Healing factor increased, some abilities showing a noticeable difference, like my power of destruction. A noticeable increase in my physical abilities, especially speed. And I haven't tested it much yet, but my lightning spells are a magnitude stronger than before. Not to mention, I leaned on the blessing I got from Odin and amplified it with a primordial rune, so I think my connection to that cosmology was further enhanced as well. Fascinating. Jin exclaimed, eyes staring at me intently, as if trying to discover all my new hidden traits. I will make notes of everything then, you just worry about training. It sounds like you have become partly nature spirit. Artoria replied. I wouldn't go that far, but there are some similarities. I definitely took on many physical properties of the element I had imbued myself with. No matter. We have plenty of time to ascertain all the peculiars about your new status. She lifted Dawnbreaker up again. We shall spar for another few hours, then break for dinner. Afterwards we will spar again and continue the schedule until I believe you are at a sufficient level. You're choosing to wait before eating? I widened my eyes. Do not act as if that is a strange thought. She huffed cutely. While you are training, I will get started on my projects. I'll make sure that you have talismans of every type in large quantities. Jin stood up, heading for the house. I will also seek out a few things I believe will be beneficial. Meridia also stood up, but she quickly walked over and snuck a quick kiss. You may come into my realm when you desire. She disappeared. I think that was her way of saying she missed me and wanted me to come over when I had the chance. Geez, with them all acting like this. All right, let's do this. I have a bit before I need to go. We can get some intense training done. Very well. I shall not hold back. Artoria nodded. Good. I would need to be at my best. Chapter 150. Steady. I held my hands out as Jin carefully placed a chunk of ice dust on a table, right on top of several overlaid talismans, which also sat on top a spell circle. Begin thaumaturgical resonance. Beginning in 3. She placed her hands on the table, The spell circle began to light up. 2, 1, a visible phenomenon overtook the room, shifting the colors around us. Dust appears to be holding steady. I noted, a stopwatch clicked in my hand. Clocked in at 30 seconds, dust starts to begin showing signs of instability. Change is gradual, but visible to the naked eye. Begin second step or abort? Jin asked. There are enough shields around the room. May as well attempt even if all parameters aren't perfect. I quickly took out a notebook and jotted some thoughts down. There was a small crack that formed on the surface, a light shining out. Crystalline structure is failing. Magical energy is beginning to leak out. It's only a matter of seconds until a reaction occurs. Or it's going to explode in a few moments. I made a hand sign, actualizing the talismans underneath. They stiffened and surrounded the dust crystal, wrapping it up tight and sealing it shut. Time is 57 seconds, estimated a minute for complete failure. The timing is going to be tight. Yes, I'm sure you know all about tightness at this point. But I kept my horny thoughts to myself for the moment, as it was important to focus. We have about 3 breaths worth of time to figure out how to do this. I set the pocket watch down, putting my palms on the table. Cancel the ritual. I waved my hand. Jin pulled away, magical energy stopped flowing, and the area began returning to normal. 3 seconds to capture the magical reaction. The concept of ice, right at the start of an explosion, where it would be in its purest state, and sealing it to further enhance its properties. The most obvious thing to do would be just to carve runes on it and chuck at someone, but that is highly inefficient, especially if I'm going to be up against servants or other mages. I walked over to another table, notes scribbled all around, and began looking over them again. Dust was the purer form of elemental magical energy I've ever seen. Well, I suppose the crystallized mana from my home world would be purer, but it was infinitely more rare. If I could somehow discharge ice from a spell and capture that, it would still be magnitudes less viable than the stuff from Remnant. It was the nature of dust. It was untouched more or less. It wasn't intertwined with any other magical source other than the world's breath. This would be much harder if I didn't have such an amazing assistant. I smiled at her. Focus, you silly man. She giggled. We can flirt later. I'll hold you to that. I looked back at my notes, letting out a sigh. All the pieces are here. It's just getting them to fit. I groaned. This is only the 15th try. We haven't even gotten this far before. I'm not getting discouraged. I reassured her. Just slightly frustrated, like it's looking at me right in the face and I'm missing it. I've never heard of anything doing something like this before, so my knowledge is limited. Jin propped her chin up on the table, looking at me. Dust wasn't widely available until... She paused with a groan. Still can't reveal Remnant's secrets. Yes, it is very annoying, she pouted. Based on what I know, dust became prominent once magic disappeared from the world. I stated, Yup, that's right. She easy replied, basically confirming my thought. So logically, experiments containing both magic and dust are practically non-existent, especially with what we're attempting. I began thinking out loud. But there are some things we can pull on. Some general experiments, I'm sure of it. Is it so different from the normal application of dust? How people utilize almost like spell casting, or in average combat situations. Jin pointed out, why not use the powder form? She grinned. Powder form. I pursed my lips. It's much more solvent for obvious reasons, but it's also much less explosive. Not to mention its nature has changed somewhat. It's much less pure and would be hard to get the kind of outcome we want. That's not to say that it isn't extremely dangerous by itself, but powdered dust and crystallized dust aren't just a different in physical state. There are distinct differences, like comparing a stick of dynamite and a hand grenade. They both blow up, but under slightly different circumstances. You're thinking of using the powdered dust as the primary source. She corrected, but it doesn't need to be. My eyes widened. Oh, that is brilliant. I practically skipped over and scooped her up in my arms. You are absolutely brilliant. Using powdered dust to act as a stopgap and inhibitor. Powdered dust wouldn't become volatile like crystalline dust in the same situation. It would be used to siphon off some excess energy, while still maintaining the overall reaction. It's not as simple as just throwing powdered dust at the problem. It's still a volatile substance when combined with magical energy. But if used correctly, we can slightly offset the buildup to allow a smoother process. I have some thoughts. She looked up from between my arms. If you don't mind, I could get started on them while you deal with your other issues. You're the best. I couldn't help but smile. She grinned. And don't you forget it. She leaned up and placed a kiss on my lips. Now, you have other things you need to do. As much as I enjoy researching together, you need to spend your time productively. She pat my chest. Do you have everything you need? I have more than enough resources to finish this project. She assured me. What about? And the defenses in this place are strong enough to handle issues, even if I couldn't handle them myself. She cut me off. I will also be sure to note everything and create a copy for grandfather to peruse when all is said and done. I see you thought of everything. I pursed my lips. And grandfather? Is it wrong for me to call Zelretch that? She asked. I guess it isn't. I brought her in for another hug. You are my woman, after all. That makes you his granddaughter. I'm sure he also enjoys it. Actually, I know he enjoys having many grandchildren. I should connect the house over by him, so we can visit more easily. I would like that, she said quietly. But you have many things on your plate at the moment. I'm sure he won't mind you waiting a little longer. She pulled away. Shoo shoo, get out of my workshop. She playfully kicked me out. All right. I held my hands up in surrender. I'll get started on my daily training with Artoria. Tell her, if she's heading to town soon, to get some more ingredients from the list I gave her last time. She knows what I'm talking about. Will do. I waved her goodbye as I finally left, sealing the room up as I left to not disturb her working. I slid across the ground, the earth and tundra being charred in my wake as arcs of lightning flew off in random directions. It coiled around my body, enveloping my sword and crackling with each movement. As Artoria swung her sword and met my own, more of the lightning was discharged at each blow. It was as if I had a permanent lightning cloak over my weapon, each blow affixed with my new affinity. Blades locked, I looked up at her, my left hand come up, finger pointing at her. Lightning bolt. I cast the most basic of basic spells for the element. She jerked her body, turning away, letting the large bolt of lightning discharge harmlessly into the distance. The way her feet pivoted, regaining her footing with ease, and following up her strike, all combined into the dodging motion, it caught me slightly off guard, only reminding me how far above me her true skill was. My hand, palm extended, moved through the air, forming a string of runes. Strike air, hammer of the Wind King. Artoria swung her invisible sword at me, the activation of her noble phantasm, albeit her weakest one. The invisible air around her sword burst out at the edge, blowing apart my spells and knocking me back. I felt the impact, my aura mitigating a large amount of the force as I tumbled along the ground, quickly scrambling to my feet. Without a second thought, Mirage flashed out, sending several birds at her. The new extension of my elemental nature had imbued them also with the element, an unforeseen, but not unwelcomed, side effects. Her invisible sword blasted out behind her, propelling her up and over my sword phantoms, blade falling down on my head. Even with my own blocking it, the ground beneath me formed cracks in every direction, and stray rubble was kicked up and blown away. We continued to trade blows, though there was never a true killing attack coming from either side, merely a spar on our ends. Ha! She shouted, spinning on her feet and putting all her weight behind an overhead slash, making me almost buckle under the suddenness. If this was me from before the land of shadows, I would have probably crumpled under the weight and broke several bones, but I only shuddered slightly. I gathered my aura, manipulating it around my palm, and pushed it against the side of her chest plate. The action surprised her enough that she hesitated for a moment. My aura pushed out, bursting at the contact point and making her take several steps back from the force. That was a surprise, she commented, rubbing the spot where I hit her. I felt that, even through my armor. I've been practicing my aura. I grinned. Didn't look like it did any damage, though. Mayhaps it just requires further refinement, she offered. It's possible. I breathed out, putting Mirage away. But these spars have been a great help. The speed at which you improve is astonishing, she stated. You have a much better handle on your lightning now, and it has been barely 2 weeks since we've started training. You have also improved on your use of aura without me noticing. She furrowed her brow. Well, I wanted to surprise you. I chuckled. Walking over to a tree nearby, I slumped down against the trunk, enjoying the cool shade. Artoria gave a smile, walking towards me. Her armor dismissed with a burst of light, leaving just her blue dress she wore in addition to it. She took a spot next to me, leaning in with a content look on her face. It was indeed a surprise. I feel that aura has much potential. I have thoughts about seeing the natives use it on Remnant if Rin will be acquiring it in the future. I took out a bottle of water from my ring, taking a long drink. It's too bad Jin's a bit limited on what she can reveal with regards to Remnant stuff. Otherwise she'd be the perfect teacher. I handed the bottle over to her. The last time I tried to get her advice on aura, she could only huff and give me annoyed looks when I did something wrong. I couldn't help but laugh. It's been roughly 2 weeks since we've started this training regime. I was working on research and preparing for my time in the Holy Grail War, barely having time to keep up with other matters. I only saw Thorum once in this period. He had been understanding when I told him I was caught up in some training stuff. He himself was rather busy, running around with Serana. I hadn't seen them initiate anything I would call romantic gestures in that small time frame, but there were still some smiles exchanged between them. No idea what's going on, but I'm not going to stick my nose in it beyond my duties as his friend, which obviously involved teasing and revenge. Artoria finished off the battle of water, playing with it between her fingers. How much longer until you intend to leave? Few days, probably. I didn't hide my intentions from her. I feel confident. I see, she replied, closing her eyes, head leaning on my shoulder. Would you mayhaps attend to the market with me? I require a few supplies Rin asked me to fetch. I would love to go with you. I gently placed my arm around her. When do you want to go? This made things easier. Jin needed some stuff too. In a little bit. She smiled brightly. Rin requested some time to gather everyone so we could finally deal with the Elder Scroll. Oh, right. I blinked in remembrance. Honestly, I was so caught up in my own stuff, I forgot about that. I couldn't help but scratch my cheek. Whenever I had free time, Rin seemed busy and vice versa. Or when Meridia couldn't get pulled away. I had spoken to Meridia a day prior. She said she could make time. We merely had to call out to her. Artoria replied, Huh, that really make things easier. The Elder Scroll really did fall to the wayside, something I seemingly keep doing because I get distracted with other important matters. Perhaps I should start making lists to keep track of things. I know that even in my past life, I wasn't exactly scatterbrained, but my whimsy took me all over the place when something wasn't actively hanging over my head. I do want to see this Elder Scroll in action. It would be a nice break from everything else. I looked up, watching the sun peek through the leaves and branches of the tree. Want to go do that now or wait? I would like to enjoy this for a little while longer. She said quietly, Well, I also wouldn't mind sitting here a while longer.